Hi juniors, welcome to the conditional statements practice video. You can find this right here in our conditional statements module. For this module, we'll be submitting three things: the outline, drills, and debug. First, let's go to PyCharm and let's see what conditional statements are. They are those things where you see it's if, elif, then else. If you haven't seen those, that's totally fine. We'll start with the if. The first thing for the syntax is it starts with our if, elif, or else. Then after that, it is our condition, and then it's followed by a colon without the space. So what that looks like is if x is greater than 0, which you should be familiar with in previous modules, then colon, and then a tab in. See, it tabbed it in for me. Once I put in that colon and I press enter, it tabbed it in for me. If it does it, just feel free to tab in. Everything after an if, elif, or else must be tabbed in. Everything in this is going to be acted out if x is greater than 0. What I mean by that is the code that's in here is going to run. So print x is positive. And then make sure we put quotes after that because that wasn't a string. Now it is. And so if I were to create x equals or set to 2 and I run this, it's going to print out x is positive because it's true. Now, if x wasn't, let's just say it was -2, nothing's going to print because you have nothing after that. If it's not greater than 0, nothing happens. That's where the else comes in. We put in else in here, and then it's going to have a colon because else does not need a condition. It's if nothing else follows or if nothing else has been activated or no condition has been met, what else happens? So we're going to say print that's also tapped in, x is negative. Now, since we have the x equals -2 here, and that is not greater than 0, it's going to go with the else statement. And so it's printing x is negative. Now, what if x was 0? What happens? It's going to print x is negative. Now, it's not greater than 0. 0 is not greater than 0. It is 0. So what do we do when we have a statement like this where it's not the if, but we also don't want the else? What we do for that is we create the elif. The elif allows us to say else if x equals 0, some condition, then our colon. Remember the colon, that's part of the syntax. Then we can print x is 0. Now x is 0. That's a brief overlook of what if, elif, and else statements are. You can create as many elif statements as you want. So if I have elif, you can have some sort of condition here with all of your code right here. They can keep going forever. The thing is, once you hit something, like if I hit x is equal to 0, it's not going to run the rest of the code. So if I were to have if x is less than 3, print x is less than 3. Now if I print that, it's going to the first one and saying, all right, x does equal 0. So we're going to print that and not run the rest of it. Even though 0 is less than 3, it's not running this because top-down processing, once I hit this elif, it's not going to run it. How do you determine then if I want something to be ran on top of the other things? That you can have multiple if statements. So if I have this, it's also printing the other ones. So you can have as many if and else statements, but once you hit an elif, it's going to cancel the rest of the code for those elifs. But if they are ifs, then it can activate as many as you want. And then if none of them are activated, it's going to print the else statement. Now, some syntax errors are like forgetting to spell. So if I put in that, it's not going to run it. It's because it doesn't know what that is. Other syntax errors would be forgetting the colon here because that's needed. If I were to run this, it will give me an error because it's telling me syntax error expected colon. So we can fix that, run it, and it runs it properly. Now that should wrap up conditional statements. If you have any questions, feel free to email or just attend student hours. Otherwise, I hope you have a great rest of your day.